So you want to main Raijin, Master of Thunder. First, ask yourself, why do you want to main Raijin? He can deal a lot of damage. His burst is super high. He has decent crowd control. He can safely poke enemies. But before you choose to main him, it's good to know the cons of Raijin. His abilities can be easily avoided. Raijin can take quite a bit of practice. Raijin is a Smite Japanese Mage. Smite has classified him as an average god, but in my opinion, I find him hard. If you're an experienced Raijin player or you just love playing him, feel free to leave any of your own tips down in the comments below. In this guide, we're exploring Raijin in mid, going through his abilities, attack cancelling, combos, builds, counters, what not to do, and general combat tips. We'll be going through this guide from a Conquest perspective, but don't worry, you can easily implement this guide into other game modes as well. With that, let's go through Raijin's abilities. Raijin's passive, Charged Tempo. For every 5 abilities casted, Raijin reduces the cooldown of all abilities currently on cooldown. This includes the one that was just casted. This will reduce the cooldown by 2 seconds. Additionally, Raijin's basic attack will have a wider radius. Straightforward passive, there isn't much to be said. Raijin's first ability, Percussive Storm. Raijin's 1 is a line ability type. Raijin pounds his drums in a line, then another, then 2 at once, each growing wider as it travels. The thunder deals magical damage to enemies it hits. This ability is your main damage and clear. You can use this ability through walls. Raijin's second ability, Raiju. Raijin's 2 is a debuff ability type. Raijin marks a target enemy by dismissing his ally Raiju, who hides in the enemy's navel. Raiju slows and reveals the target to Raijin's team and the minimap. The next time Raijin damages a target, Raiju awakens and claws his way out. This will double the slow, damage the target, and 5 nearby enemies every 0.5 seconds for 2.5 seconds. Enemies who come after that are hit will take decreased damage. This ability directly counters stealthed enemies. This ability is not automatic like Huyi's Mark ability. You have to aim this ability, so it is possible to miss. If you find yourself missing the ability when trying to zap enemies, you can place it on a minion instead. This ability can help with clear early game. Raijin's third ability, Thunder Clash. Raijin's 3 is a leap ability type. Raijin sends a bolt of lightning crashing at his ground target location. Enemies in the area will become damaged and mesmerized. Shortly after, Raijin will come crashing down at that location, doing a second burst of damage to all enemies in the area. Raijin will become briefly untargetable while in the sky. This ability is his main escape, chase, and engagement. The Mesmerize is nice as it's effective to cancel out channeling abilities. It can also cancel out shorter, quicker abilities if you time it extremely well or are just lucky. Do keep in mind that there is a short delay on the ability. Raijin's ultimate, Taiko Drums. Raijin's ultimate is a line ability type. Raijin beats his drums 4 times to summon peals of thunder. With each hit, he has a choice of 3 beats. Beat 1 will deal 100% damage. Beat 2 will taunt and deal 30% damage. Beat 3 will fear and deal 30% damage. While in the air, Raijin suffers a 20% movement speed slow. As you can see, this ability depends on the situation, so every outcoming combo will be different. I will be talking more about the ultimate in the combo section later in this video. A quick note, you can use all of his abilities through walls. Now let's get into the leveling priority for Raijin's abilities. For the first 5 levels, at level 1, his 1, at level 2, his 2, at level 3, his 3, at level 4, his 2, at level 5, his ultimate. For leveling priority, his first ability for increased damage, his second ability for increased damage, mark damage, and decreased cooldown, his ultimate for increased damage, his third ability for increased damage and radius. So basically, 1, 2, 4, 3. Attack cancelling for Raijin. Attack cancelling allows for some extra damage. Basically, if you watch closely, It will cancel out some of the animation and go right into another basic or ability. This gives you consistent DPS and is not mandatory to learn if you don't want to. For his first ability, his 1 on quick cast, as soon as you fire a basic attack, use his first ability. For his third ability, his 3 on quick cast, as soon as you fire a basic attack, use his third ability. Obviously, this is for when you want to use it as an aggressive engagement. Combos for Raijin. Before we get into combos, a few pointers. I would recommend having at least Raijin's first ability on quick cast. Try to place the second ability on an enemy you want to engage. Not only will you deal more damage to the target and some damage to enemies around the target, you will also double the slow. Remember that your third ability is your main escape, but it's also a great way to close the gap between you and an enemy. Remember that it will also mesmerize the enemy briefly. Remember that Raijin's passive will decrease the cooldown of your abilities by 2 seconds after casting 5 abilities. Raijin makes use of his basic attacks. Use them when you can. They work with his second ability as well. Remember that his second ability will reveal stealth targets. It will also show enemies where they are for a brief period. Remember, you can use all of his abilities through walls. This works very nicely with his second ability when an enemy is revealed. You can use your third ability as an engagement in any of these combos. For short combos, 2 and 1 or 2 and basic. For medium combos, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1. I'm sure some of you are confused on when and why you should use your ultimate, and to be honest, I was too. I think one of the hardest things about Raijin is his ultimate, because of different individual situations. So I contacted Wlfy. If you don't know him, he's a pro player who played mid for Rival, Seasons 5 Masters winner, and came second twice in the Smite World Championship. I really recommend you guys check out his YouTube and Twitch. He is focusing on content creation at the moment, and his guides and gameplays are great to watch and learn from, especially if you're someone who loves playing the mid role in Conquest. So basically, in a simple breakdown, first beat at 100% power is when your team has enough CC, meaning you wouldn't need to use any of your own CC in your beats. Second beat, apart from taunting them into your first beat, if you need to taunt someone into your teammates and you don't value the damage from your first beat. Third beat, if you or your teammates are in trouble and you want to save them or continue a CC chain. Wlfy also mentions that it's sometimes the best CC is death. This is why the first beat is so valuable. An example combo you could do with this ultimate beat is second beat, first beat, second beat, first beat. But Wlfy mentions a majority of the time you will have CC from your teammates in teamfights. I will leave a screenshot of the full message in the description box below. I really recommend having a read through it. So huge thanks to Wlfy for helping me out with this. Please make sure to check him out, guys. Builds for Raijin. Builds always depend on what kind of enemies you're up against. My builds in this video are just a general guideline. You can adjust accordingly depending on your game and situations. For a Season 5 damage mid build, Mage's Blessing, Tier 1 Spear of the Magus, Shoes of Focus for cooldown or Shoes of the Magi for pen, Finish Spear of the Magus, Divine Ruin for anti-heal, otherwise grab Soul Reaver. If you grab Divine Ruin, you can still pick up Soul Reaver afterwards, Shaman's Ring, Obsidian Shard if you need more pen, otherwise Soul Gem. You can pick up Obsidian Shard earlier if you need more pen against a heavy magical defense team. Other items you can build but not limited to are Gem of Isolation for slows, Mantle of Discord for defense, Chronos Pendant for cooldown, Rod of Tahuti for more magical damage, Celestial Legion Helm against physical enemies. I had a rough game against a Thor jungle, this item made all the difference. For relics, Raijin generally picks up Purification Beads and Aegis Amulet. Counters of Raijin. Raijin's slow from his second ability is countered by beads. Raijin's CC from his ultimate is countered by beads and Magi's Cloak. Aegis counters Raijin's ultimate. You can hold his ultimate for a bit to wait for it to wear off. Cripples counter Raijin's third ability, which is his leap and escape. Raijin's abilities can be easy to juke. Skilled enemies will have an easier time avoiding his abilities, especially his ultimate. What not to do as Raijin. Do not engage with your leap into a bunch of enemies. you will most likely die if they collapse on you. Do not engage with your leap if it's not worth it or it's too risky. Do not use your first beat without some sort of CC unless you're really confident you'll land them. General combat tips for Raijin. If enemies are close to your tower, you can use your ultimate second beat to taunt them into tower range. Raijin counters Ancile because his leap does damage before you land. If you're not familiar with Ancile, I recommend reading on it. If you're still a bit confused, let me know in the comments and I can explain it. Raijin's third ability can easily counter channeling abilities. Remember that Raijin can see the enemy if he lands his second ability on an enemy. A way you can use this in mid with the mid camp is to put your second ability on the enemy if you believe they're on the mid camp. I wouldn't do it before as the enemy would know what's on them. Then proceed to use your first ability to scare them off, damage them or steal the mid camp. You can do this with other camps as well. Early game, clear waves by using your second ability on the minion and then going on them with your first ability. Another way you can do this is using your second ability on the back minions and then using your first ability. This way you may be able to get damage off on the opponent. Raijin's abilities do really well in narrow passageways. Your third ability is also good to use as a finisher if an enemy is getting away at low health and you have no other abilities up or abilities that reach the enemy. And that is all for the Raijin guide. A huge thank you to AZURE Justice for bringing us this Raijin guide. If you'd like to request a god guide or simply just to support me, you can find a coffee donation link in the description box below. Let me know what god you would like to main next in the comments. Subscribing and likes would be super rad, clicking the bell really helps me out. I hope to see you for the next one. Bye!